Hey, we're back. In our next, hey guys,
Hey, Mike, where you been?
we have another jam-packed segment coming up. We're going to be
packed, Pee-wee.
Yep, we're going to be joined by Shawn Augustson. So Shawn sent me a message on Instagram talking about Harman positive paper 4x5, which is also available in 8x10.
Yes.
And he sent me some pictures, and it just inspired me. I was like, oh my God, positive paper. We never talk about Harman positive paper. For folks listening, Shawn, he'll be with us in a second. He's a street photographer and artist from Columbus, Ohio. After serving his country in Iraq for 2 years and returning home with seriously injured back and post-traumatic stress disorder, as part of his recovery, he took into art therapy, where he learned he had a natural talent for painting. When a therapist recommended he try photography, he hit the streets with his camera, and over time, it helped him to reduce his stress and anxiety to the point where he's almost completely off medication.
Wow.
That is impressive. Today, he is a successful artist with many gallery showings under his belt, an avid street photographer, and he helps other vets use photography and art to deal with their own PTSD. That bio, by the way, is from streetphotographymagazine.com. I want to thank those folks.
Wow.
And as many times as we've had Joby on the show.
What show?
I don't think we've ever told people who the hell he is.
Nope.
Joseph Brunjes is a Wilmington, North Carolina native who currently lives with his wife, daughter, and assorted pets in Walnut Cove, North Carolina.
Sounds cozy.
Joseph received his photographic training from the International Center of Photography and the Center for Alternative Photography, both in New York City. He first learned film photography from his dad, John Henry Brunjes, while he was in middle school. He has been a guest on the FPP many times and also the Large Format Photography podcast. He currently teaches wet plate collodion and large format photography at the Sawtooth School for Visual Arts in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Now, folks listening, now you know who Joby is. Hey, Shawn.
There's Shawn.
Hey.
Hey, we're now joined by Shawn Augustson. Welcome, Shawn.
Hi, thank you.
And at the very bottom, at the anchor, is Joseph Joby Brunjes.
Hey, everybody.
This segment started when Shawn was kind enough to send me an Instagram message talking about the Harman positive paper. That's what it's called, Matt, right? It's just Harman positive
the
paper.
Harman direct positive. Yeah, you got it.
Positive paper. And you sent me some images. And Shawn, I had forgotten what an awesome, I don't want to say film because it's paper,
Right.
of how great it is. So before we ask you some questions, Matt, what is direct positive paper?
Sure. So it's a paper that's set up so instead of for enlarging from a negative, you can load it directly into the back of your camera, preferably a large format camera. Otherwise, you might have a harder time. So it's pre-cut in 4x5 and 8x10 sheets, and you can just go outside and shoot it. It's a significantly lower speed than you might be used to with traditional films. And it's pretty contrasty, but you can also play around with that. But it's just a nice way to get a result directly. There's no negative in between. What you're shooting are originals, and they just have a neat look.
Shawn, how did you discover this paper, and how did you start shooting it?
I discovered it on the Film Photography Project website.
What?
And,
We never even talk about it.
We never talk about it.
Well, I went, to get 4x5 film and some other stuff, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, what's this? And then read up about it a little bit, saw some other images people have been shooting with it, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try this. This sounds, really interesting to me. And so recently I did the one-on-one printing darkroom class with Matt, and so I've been dying to start doing stuff in the darkroom, so this just fit right in.
Folks listening, this is not a setup. I swear to God, I had no idea.
Shameless plug.
I had no idea that Shawn discovered this paper at the FPP website store, and I had no idea that Shawn did a one-on-one with Matt.
It's a small world.
Yeah. So, and Shawn, do you like sashay into Midwest Photo Exchange occasionally?
Quite often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And how long have you been shooting 4x5?
So right before the pandemic, I got a Graflex camera, and so not very long.
And are you currently using an Intrepid camera?
Correct. With the Graflex, you don't have all the movements, and then I started seeing stuff with the Intrepid camera, and got one of those mostly because it gave me all the full movements. And I was finding using the Graflex, there was stuff I wanted to do that I really couldn't do. And so went with the Intrepid. And
like what?
been loving it.
Talking to a novice here, Shawn.
Well, I guess like I wanted to be able to use the back tilt and front tilt and the swing and shift. And I couldn't really do that with the Graflex. It, just kind of went out and had a little bit of front tilt.
I don't know what that means.
I need, and I'm not even joking, folks, I need a one-on-one with Matt Marrash. I am scared to tilt anything. I just unfold my 4x5 camera. I'm like, don't touch it. Because once you start tilting it, I'm like, whoa. Like, Matt, I must have said that to you at least half a dozen times when you're setting up the camera here at FPP. And you start tilting it. I'm like, whoa. We're going to put it back the way you found it, right?
Yeah, you get so nervous like it's made of glass or something.
Well, it's like, Shawn, I think it's great because I, to this day, have not done like shifts and tilts.
Yeah.
So, did you learn that from Matt?
I did. Talking to him at the shop and watching his YouTube channel.
Mike, that's one of the beauties of large format is you can shoot it completely straight like a regular camera and get exactly the results you want, or you can start moving the things around and seeing what perspective control does for things. It makes things in the foreground larger, it makes them farther away, it makes them in focus, makes them out of focus. It starts to get really interesting when you start playing around. And as Matt usually says, don't be scared.
I'm hoping that some of your guys' patience will kind of like bleed through these boxes into me because I'm just so impatient. I'm just like, okay, let's get the shot. Come on. Next. Okay, great, good shot. Okay.
Well, I got into it, I think, early on. I think around 2012 or 2013 is when I first heard about it. I shot it for a little bit, probably shot maybe 2 or 3 boxes of it, and just kind of went. It was right before I got into wet plate, so the wet plate just kind of took over, and I kind of dropped it, and that's why I brought you a box that time when I came to visit you guys, because I had gotten so, engrossed in the wet plate stuff. There wasn't anything else on the planet to think about at that point, so I had an extra box, so I brought it to you. Around 2011, 2012, something like that was when they first introduced it.
Mike, I remember the first time I saw some direct positive. We were still doing. We were putting together like Flickr galleries, I think it was.
Yes.
I'm looking at my galleries right now, and there's this really spectacular self-portrait of Mr. Jeremy North, and that was 2011 at one of the shows that Ilford had set up a booth, the Harman booth, and they were doing direct positive portraits. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, this is some cool stuff.
Do you shoot it often, or how often do you shoot it?
I think I've only gone through a box of that stuff. The person who keeps pulling me back into that is my buddy Stephen Takis, because that's what he did his original Brownie in Motion project on, was all the Harman paper when he could still get it in a roll. And I'm not sure if that's special order now, but I know it's a lot harder to get a hold of it outside of 8x10.
You mentioned Flickr. I'm wowing Flickr because
Flickr.
Right.
Shawn, are you on Flickr?
I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a new person to Instagram, and the more I use it, the more I hate it for photography, because it's just
really,
it's just this tiny little version of things, and being a large format shooter, posting something that small is just kind of defeats the purpose.
Yeah,
and a good reason, Mike.
And just the whole ability to search for photographs that are of the same subject. I mean, Flickr to me was ideal because it had keywords that you could search under. It had groups that were dedicated to film, paper, lens, camera. I mean, you could look up any possibility, and it was all there. I mean, it's still a wonderful resource for that, even though a lot of people kind of bailed and taking their photographs with them. But it's vastly superior to Instagram in my mind. I mean, Instagram is just full of so much junk. I mean,
really?
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. Well, Matt's not on Instagram.
I'm not. I never made
But
it. That
Instagram isn't like
Resist
a
it.
Flickr.
Well, John Fedele's new to Instagram. Are you?
It's a nice way to get in touch. Like Flickr is just specifically photographers and people who take photos and love photos, and
Yeah, the ability to
Instagram
look
is
at,
social media and photographers. So
right.
I enjoy using it, but I agree. I wish I could post the photos bigger, be able to see a higher resolution and stuff too. Seems kind of silly with a little tiny picture, especially with the 4x5s. It seems like I have to put it on another mat, so to say, to get the full thing to show up.
What tipped you over the edge to go large format?
Because I like the negative. Like the 4x5 negative is like a piece of art in itself to me. I would frame them and hang just the negative. I like them so much.
Matt's head is in a cloud right now because he's like, do.
No, it's
Large negative. Wow.
Great.
It is. Joby, when did you first discover large format? Because, Joby, were you kind of influenced by your dad and the amount of photography he was shooting? And
Yeah. Yeah, he taught high school photography for 30 years. So I grew up around a darkroom. They gave me a little point and shoot 35 when I was in middle school, and I used to take it to school and show all my friends, and I still have all those negatives, which is fun. And he would develop the film for me, but I would go in and print, in the high school darkroom when I was in middle school, and I thought that was just a blast. And then I broke a couple cameras, and my parents decided I didn't need another one, so I kind of abandoned it for a long time. And then when my daughter was born in 2006, I thought, I'm going to get a really nice digital camera, and I did that and just got kind of bored. And then
yes, bored. That's what
I think I bought a Holga and shot a real Holga and had it processed and saw the look again. I went, I've forgotten how beautiful film was, and so from there I went and bought a 35. I was a Canon. I'm a Canon guy. Yo, Canon. I just started slowly getting bigger and bigger cameras. I got a Pentax 645N, and as soon as I saw a medium format negative that was crisp and clear, I had seen the Holga, but that was the Holga. As soon as I saw a beautiful negative like that, I just started getting bigger and bigger. I got my Chamonix 4x5 in 2011, and I thought 4x5 was all I needed because, like Shawn said, the negatives are beautiful. There's so much detail. There's so much information. And then I got into wet plate and realized that 4x5 seems really small. And as soon as I moved again, I bought a Chamonix 8x10 and just never looked back. And now, if you see in the background, there's now a Chamonix 11x14 sitting back there, which is the bomb. When Mike, asked me about participating in this little chat, I got some more of this paper, and I thought I'm going to shoot some this week, so I'd have something to show off. So one of the interesting things about this paper is that it's pretty high contrast. It's like a 3.5 or 4 paper if you're relating it to the negative side of it. And people will pre-flash this paper to try to bring it down, or they put filters in front of the lens to try to bring it down. And my approach, even back when I was shooting before, was to just try to embrace subjects that would enjoy the extra contrast as opposed to trying to tame it the whole time. So I had, for Christmas, I gave my wife this really neat teapot from one of the artists at this school where I teach. And so here's, the little 4x5 of this teapot that I shot, and the high contrast just worked perfectly for it.
Oh, nice.
I didn't have to do anything for it. But of course, I had to pull out the 11x14.
Man,
that's a lot cooler, I think.
That is.
The paper, actually, one of the reasons I wanted to start shooting again during this is that with wet plate, you use a lot of rubber gloves, and they're just not available right now. So I'm down to my last box of rubber gloves, and so I thought, it's something else that I can do that's an instant positive where I don't have to clean up a huge mess and wear gloves. And so this paper has been really a treat to play with this week because it's a finicky thing, just like wet plate is. It's orthochromatic, so it sees blue. So metering for it outdoors is really hard. You almost have to know it like wet plate, where you have to kind of be able to guess exposures. The light meter will get you close, but it's so edgy, this paper, you have to be within a third of a stop to half of a stop to really nail it. I forgot that it dries down like paper does. So, you get a really hot white and you think you're there, and then the next day you look at it and it's gray because it's dried down. It's dried down 10%. So, but that can be to your advantage, because I had a print I thought I had totally blown out the highlights, and then the next day it looked great. When they first introduced it, it was actually they had RC and fiber-based paper, and they just completely discontinued the RC for some reason. So it's only fiber-based. So that is a bit of an added inconvenience because you have to wash it longer. Of course, I use the FPP archival wash to cut down that time.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. That takes an hour down to 15 minutes, which is nice.
Right.
And you know, it doesn't, when it dries, it starts to curl and everything. So you have to flatten them out and press them a little bit. So there are extra disadvantages to shooting it, but it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. And, you know, if you want something that's a one of a kind, just kind of like one of the reasons I like shooting tintypes is it's an object as much as it is a photograph. And that's kind of what these are. They're little objects. They're one of a kinds. You know, it makes them more valuable to me.
Yeah.
Jordan, I gotta go.
It's a good one.
It is a good one.
There's so many catchphrases. Who can remember them all?
Folks, you can write to us, podcast@filmphotographyproject.com.
Jordan, I gotta go.
I always say, you know, photography is a great way to inspire. People are seeing pictures, and, you know, people see something in your photography. And I always say sometimes, you know, if you're thinking like, oh, I don't know if I want to post photography, I don't know if I want to post my pictures, people will see things in your pictures that you yourself maybe don't even see. It's such a wonderful way to communicate. But I want to thank you guys for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,
all right, gents.
I'm going to sign off.
Good to see you all.
Yeah,
you all.
Okay, I'll see you guys.